Alright guys, we got our official bet prediction for UFC 308, Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. And guys, I'm looking to knock this card out the park. I'm looking to win you and myself some money. So guys, go ahead and like the video and subscribe, because we are green light. This is a profit green light making video right here. But all in all, we'll be working our way with the main event and doing a little bit of a sprinkle of the prelims. There are some fights that we will be not doing. Like, I don't care about this Ibo Aslan fight versus Rafael. No, I'm not betting on that. I don't care about it. I need to do more of a read on these dudes for me to go ahead and put my money on it. Like this Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo, I'm not putting my money on that. So guys, there are some fights that will be missing and we'll be not talking about, because I will not be putting my money on, and I will be focused on the fights that I will be putting my money on. But all in all, guys, like the video, subscribe, and we'll be starting off with the main event and the tail of the tape between Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria. And guys, if you go ahead and look at the tail of the tape right here, Max Holloway is 5'11", going against a 5'7" Ilia Topuria. So I can only imagine how that face-off is going to look. Max Holloway is probably more than likely is going to look like he towers over Ilia Topuria. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But if you guys go ahead and look at Max Holloway's resume and look at the fights that he's fought, he has a huge resume. It's a long resume. Right now he's on a 3-fight win streak, going against Arnold Allen, going against Chan Sung Jung. From what it looks like, when he's fought in the competition, he hasn't really shown up. Because when you seen this Volkanovski fight right here, he hasn't shown up. When you seen this Dustin Poirier fight right here, he hasn't shown up. Conor McGregor, he hasn't shown up. So he is the house of disappointment from what I'm looking at in Max Holloway when he fights. Now, when he needs to beat the fighters that he needs to beat, he's cashing in every time. But when he comes in as an underdog, he never cashes in. As you guys can see, versus Dennis, whatever his last name is, he was a plus 265 underdog, didn't cash in. Conor McGregor, plus 285 underdog. And I'm kind of looking at this Conor McGregor fight as another implementation of the Ilia Topuria fight, and that's leading me to another prediction of that this fight will go to decision and Ilia Topuria will win this fight by decision. If you look at this Dustin Poirier fight, he was favored to beat Dustin Poirier and lost. If you look at this Volkanovski fight, he was favored to beat Volkanovski and lost. Surprisingly, he beat Frankie Edgar, but in big spots, he hasn't shown up. Lately, within the last 3 fights, he's definitely shown up. But now he's going against the champ. Last time he's fought was 193 days ago. He's going against the champ in Ilia Topuria. And when you look at Ilia Topuria's resume, all I can see is nothing but green light. Green light. He's gotten the job done every time. When you tell him to do the job, he's getting the job done in clean fashion at that too. He's winning the fight by KO, TKO for the most part, submission. This Josh Emmett fight that he won by decision, he slaughtered Josh Emmett in that fight. Josh Emmett was put into a bloody pulp. So, I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. And guys, if I'm looking at a resume like this, a dude that's cashing in and night out every time, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put my money on him. When he fought Bryce Mitchell, I actually had Bryce Mitchell winning that fight. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. This is before I knew who Ilia Topuria was. This is when the Ilia Topuria and Patty the Batty was arguing and stuff like that. And I thought, who is this dude arguing with Patty the Batty? Like, you know, that was me being a casual at the time and not understanding the game. Now that I understand the game, I am 100% positive that Ilia Topuria is going to cash in on Saturday night, and he is going to go ahead and win us some money on Saturday night. So I will be taking Ilia Topuria at the minus 230 odds, and this fight will be going into decision. This is not a light heavyweight or a heavyweight bout like how Alex Pereira and Khalil Rountree was, where a dude was getting knocked out. In my opinion, this fight will go to decision, and dudes will have their moment going into this fight, and I will give the upper edge to Ilia Topuria. Next fight up, we have Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. And now, guys, if you go ahead and look at the tail of the tape of these two fighters right here, the inch, Khamzat Chimaev has the advantage. with against Robert Whitaker in that department, and he has the height advantage, and he is the younger fighter. Both these dudes are orthodox fighters, so the footwork will definitely play a role into this fight. One thing about Khamzat Chimaev, he is a hyper dude. He will always try to go ahead and beat you by positioning, so that's one thing that he's definitely going to do. And same thing with Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker is not a stupid dude at all. He will pick up on it and try to go ahead and revert and beat you back with positioning. So that is two things that you should point out. But if you guys go ahead and look at Khamzat Chimaev's fight history, he's been cash money, and he's been undefeated at that. He's at home court territory at Abu Dhabi. So the fans will be rooting heavily for Khamzat Chimaev, and Khamzat Chimaev will be fired up and prepared for this fight, and that is for sure. The last time he fought was 368 days ago. Felt like it was way longer than that, but it was 368 days ago. So it's basically a full year since he last fought. 365 days in a year, so it's basically a full year and 3 days since he last fought. So now he's back into action. And I might can a little bit expect him lose. I can probably expect him losing the first round. But when it comes down to round 2 and 3, I think Khamzat Chimaev can go over and take those rounds. He's fighting Gilbert Burns. He's in that fight, he's shown that he's able to stand in the paint. He's able to box with you. He's able to go ahead and put pressure on you and go ahead and get into war and tough exchanges with the fighter. He's fought in Kevin Holland, destroyed Kevin Holland, did exactly what he needed to do. Kamaru Usman won by split decision against the second greatest welterweight ever to do it. Into a lot of people's some people's opinion, first greatest welterweight. So I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. He's getting the job done. When you look at Robert Whitaker's side of town, in big moments, in my opinion, he hasn't shown up. When he's going against the fighters that he needs to beat, he's beating them. Like Yoel Romero, Derek Brunson, Uriah Hall, Brad Tavares. He's beat Jared Cannonier, Kevin Gastelum. He's beating the fighters that he needs to beat. But when you guys look at the losses that he has, Wonder Boy, he was the underdog going into this fight, so a lot of people didn't believe in him at that time. So you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, cool. But going against Israel Adesanya in a big moment, he's lost. A big moment with Wonder Boy, like I said, he lost. Another moment with Adesanya, he lost. Dricus Du Plessis, another big moment, he lost. And look at these fights that he won. They weren't big moment fights. No one cares for this Jared Cannonier, Kevin Gastelum fight. No one cares for Marvin Vettori, Paulo Costa, Ikram. No one cares for these fights, even though he's looking good in these fights. When it comes to big fights, he just hasn't shown up. So am I expected to for Robert Whitaker to go ahead and show up? I think this is another Corey Sandhagen moment where Corey Sandhagen's looking very good, and he met Umar Nurmagomedov, and Umar Nurmagomedov just out positioned him for majority of the fight. I think this is one of those same moments with Khamzat Chimaev, and he is a plus 245 favorite going into this fight, and I have to take Khamzat Chimaev going into this fight. Last time Robert Whitaker fought, by the way, was 123 days ago. So that is a quick little fact that you guys might want to know. So it's been a full year and a couple change for Khamzat Chimaev and 100 and something days for Robert Whitaker. So he is the fresher fighter going into this octagon. Next fight up, we have Laron Murphy versus Dan Ige. Tail of the tape. Laron Murphy is beating Dan Ige on the reach advantage, 73.5 versus 73.1, and he is beating him on the height advantage. Both these dudes are in their basically prime age at 33 years old. I don't know who's on the back end of that 33, but either way, these dudes are the same age. But if you guys are looking at it, Laron Murphy has been cash money. The fight that he lost was actually in Abu Dhabi, and going into UFC 308, he's going back into Abu Dhabi, which is going to be very interesting because in this fight, he had a draw. It was a split decision, and he was a plus 270 going into this fight. So for him to get a draw, I think that was an actual win for him, even though it did not count on his record. To get to be plus 270 going into a fight and to have it as a draw going against a Russian, you're basically not at home court territory. You're away. It's a good look for you. Ever since that fight, he's been cash money, getting KO, TKOs, getting decisions, looking sharp with his stand-up game. When it comes to Dan Ige, last time he fought was 116 days ago against Diego Lopez. He's fighting Andre Fili, Bryce Mitchell, and he lost to Bryce Mitchell. And you're looking at basic MMA math right here. At this point, Dan Ige has been a win one, lose one type of dude, and this is one of those fights that Dan Ige definitely can win. He's used to being in these underdog spots and cashing in. As you guys can see in the past in his career, he's been in these underdog spots at plus 127, plus 100, plus 133, and he's been cashing in. But in this moment right here, going against Leron Murphy, the undefeated fighter, and he's been in this territory. This is not home court territory for him. I don't think the crowd is going to root for him. One thing's for sure, that he's used to that environment in Abu Dhabi. I don't know if Dan Ige is used to that environment. I don't know if he's fought in Abu Dhabi. But one thing I know is that I'm going with the sharper fighter, especially when it comes down to the stand-up game, and Leron Murphy. Dan Ige can make it dirty. And the question is, can Leron Murphy get away from the dirty moves that Dan Ige can possibly do to him? And I believe that he can. He can evade those moves, and Leron Murphy can go ahead and get his offense off on Dan Ige. And I will be putting my money on Leron Murphy. Now, guys, if you haven't understand the common denominator that I've been doing in these fight predictions right now, I've been picking the favorites. I think these dudes that are undefeated are not gonna go ahead and lose their I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. I think they're not. So far, I'm picking on nothing but favorites in this fight. So this is boring. I'm not going to force any underdogs because I don't see any underdog going into this. So I see a lot of favorites winning this. Next fight up, we have Rakic versus Magomed Ankalaev, a light heavyweight bout. Rakic, I really want Rakic to win this fight, man. I'm a Rakic guy. I root for Rakic. But if I'm going to be honest with you, man, they're putting Rakic in with a beast. They're putting him in with a monster. One thing I'll never do is bet against a Russian. I'll never put my money against these dudes. These dudes will win you money every single time. And that's one thing I just can't do. Rakic is coming in with the 78 inch reach. Ankalaev has 75, so Rakic does have the advantage on the reach, and he is a taller fighter. Both these dudes are 32 years old. Orthodox stance for Rakic, and Ankalaev switches in between Orthodox and Southpaw. If you look at the fight history with Rakic, Rakic was an underdog going into that Yuri Prochazka fight, did not cover. He was a favorite going into Jan Blachowicz fight, did not cover. Thiago Santos, he was a favorite, and he covered. And Anthony Smith, he covered. So he's beating the fighters that he needs to beat. But when he gets into a big moment and he gets into an octagon with a fighter that's a little bit on his level, it seems like he's not cashing in. When you look at Ankalaev's resume, he's cashed, like I said from earlier. The Paul Craig lost the submission in the third round. He basically was winning the fight. Paul Craig got a Hail Mary submission off, got his arm, made him tap, game over. And the Jan Blachowicz draw. Those are the only two stains in his career. Other than that, this dude has been cashing in, and this dude has been a high favorite going into every last one of these fights. Minus 445, 315, 196, 305, 294, 290, 625, 476. This dude is a high favorite going into all of these fights. Last time he fought was 284 days ago, so he is somewhat fresh. I don't think he's going to come out missing a beat. I'm going to have to take Ankalaev into this fight right here. He's winning these fights by KO, TKO, or decision. Submission is not an option for this dude at all. He's ground and pounding you, or he's just beating you up on the feet, and that's just what it is. When you look at let's look at Rakic. Yeah, he's same thing for Rakic too. He's winning these fights by KO, TKO too. So Rakic can get a Hail Mary and possibly knock out Ankalaev, but I just don't see it happening. I will never bet against a Russian fighter. That's just a thing that I just can't do. Next fight up, we have Bullet versus Arman Petrosyan, and these are one of these moments. Bullet is undefeated going into this fight, 30 years old. Going against the 33-year-old Petrosyan. So Petrosyan has a little bit more experience going into the fight game. 6'2". Both of them are 6'2". Bullet has a little bit of a reach advantage. Petrosian is 33. And if you look at the fight history for Petrosian, it's not been much. He's used to being in these underdog spots, obviously. Christian Duncan, he won that fight. AJ Dobson, he won that fight. But when he won those fights seemed like it was war. You know, it seemed like he got into a war and he just came out of that war. You know, with Bullet, it seems like the fighters that he's been fighting hasn't been really all that good. Bruno Silva, he's a jobber. His most recent fight, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he was the absolute jobber. He ended up quitting mid-fight, and Bullet was just beating him up. One thing about Petrosian, even though if he's tired, and I feel like in this fight he's going to get tired at some point. He's going to bring the fight on no matter what. I'm gonna have to take Bullet going into this fight. He is the slight favorite going into this fight. You look at all his fights. He had a lot. He was a huge favorite going into a lot of these fights. Minus 313, minus 549, minus 270. So now that you can get him at good value at minus 155 going against Petrosian, which is going to give him a tough night out. I think this is a possible chance for being fight of the night. But he's at the crib. He's in Abu Dhabi. He has the judges on his side. If this fight go to decision, I have Bullet winning this fight. If this fight, I feel like Petrosian's way to win is by knockout. I have Bullet winning this fight. I don't think his O is going to go. And basically, guys, if you guys haven't seen the common denominator, I'm basically saying all the undefeated fighters that I pointed out from earlier are going to go ahead and stay undefeated. So that's a little bit of a head pointer for you guys if you guys didn't know. Next fight up, and this is the last fight we'll be talking about, is Jeff Neal versus RDA. And man, Jeff Neal, this dude has a tough bout going against Ian Gary, having a split decision with Ian Gary. I don't count split decisions as losses, even though they're losses. It shows that you put on a fight, you were able to win a round. It wasn't unanimous. And he got submitted by Shavkat, and she made it a tough fight against Shavkat. Beat Vicente Luque and Pazana Bibo. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, whatever it is. I don't care. That Moicano win was definitely a good look for RDA. It definitely helps him with this argument because he is beating dudes like Moicano. Lost to Rafael Fiziev. Rafael Fiziev is a tough night out. Lost to Vicente Luque and Matthias Gramrot. It feels like he's on the back end of his career. But one thing RDA is going to do no matter what, he's going to bring the fight to you. And that's one thing you can't take away from RDA. And Jeff Neal is going to do the same exact thing. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to have to take Jeff Neal, another favorite. And I think it's going to be a huge favorite type fight right here. Jeff Neal is a minus 300 favorite going into this fight. And shoot, I don't blame him, man. You look at the resume, you look at the dudes he's been fighting. He's fighting the creme of the creme, basically. I don't see how you go down and fight someone that's lower than you and you lose. That's one of the things that could just be so questionable. RDA has to prove a lot, and he has to show a lot in order to win this fight. I had to take Jeff Neal in this fight. And that's just what it is. Jeff Neal for the most part. Honorable mentions, I'm looking at, I think Kennedy Nizaku can definitely beat Chris Barnett. You have a 5'9", 264 heavyweight throwing nothing but kicks. That's a dude I'm not going to go ahead and put my money on. I'm going to take the safe bet and take my boy Kennedy winning that fight. But all in all, guys, this is my official bet and prediction for UFC 308. I take these serious. This isn't a laughing moment. This is a moment where I get you guys talking and arguing. This is a moment where I win you guys money. So, guys, if these are for my true MMA bettors, this video is for my true people that want to win money. This isn't the laughing video for you guys that you guys are used to seeing. I'm just going to say and be honest with you guys. I'm taking this serious. All in all, it's your boy Fetty Too Sweaty. Like the video. I'm out.